The PlayStation VR2 stuff doesn't stop, or at least it doesn't seem to of late, but not the good stuff, which is a shame. This is feeling a lot like PlayStation Vita or other things all over again. But there is a silver lining, but it's not this part, although it's going to hint at it. Now, I forgot to mention in the previous segments as well that at the moment we're using RotorVR.com. Shout out the colleagues. Sony reportedly pauses PlayStation VR2 production due to low sales. Do you guys think the media's kind of out for Sony, or is this just them being factual here and there's no big deal? I mean, big deal in terms of what's happening, but it seems to be the thing right now is to just find any story that is negative on the PlayStation VR2. Alright, Sony has reportedly paused production of PlayStation VR2 as it looks to clear its backlog of inventory. According to the Bloomberg report, which means it's obviously true then, isn't it? I don't know. PlayStation VR2 sales have slowed progressively since its February 2023 launch. Some people familiar with the company's plans, Sony has produced well over 2 million units since launch, noting that stocks of the $550 headset are building up. Surplus is throughout Sony's supply chain, indicating the issue isn't confined to a single location, but it's spread across different stages of Sony's production and distribution network. As follows news that Sony Interactive Entertainment laid off, and we spoke about this in the previous podcast episode, you should check out as well, or check out the playlist, I'll put a link to the playlist for it. Follows news that Sony Interactive Entertainment laid off 8% of the company, which affected a number of its first-party game studios also involved in VR game production. They entirely shut it down. Its London studio, some people told me that London studio wasn't going to be making more VR games anyway. I'm not sure if that's right or not, but I'll take their word for it. Usually you guys know more. I just got the balls to make the videos. That's the only difference. That doesn't sound right, actually. That sounds more like confrontation. I didn't mean like that. I guess what I'm saying is, it is easier to know stuff than it is to put stuff to the test. And I know I don't know stuff, and I put it to the test, which is fine, because then I learn from you guys. So that's fine. And I should add in here as well, triggering lots of people on the whole side loading of Quest or whatever. I don't hate side loading. I just don't think having to side load, however easy it is a replacement or considered a consumer feature. It's not, wait, we shouldn't even talk about this because this is like nothing to do with PlayStation VR2. But it's not the same thing as it just being a feature that you just turn on or off type of thing. It's you gotta go through steps. Tutorials not the same thing. But if you got triggered, I love you, just not in that way. Okay, and they also reduced headcount at Firesprite, the studio behind PlayStation VR2, who made Horizon Call of the Mountain as an example. Meanwhile, Sony is making PlayStation VR2 officially compatible with PC VR games, as the company hopes to release some sort of PC support for the headset later this year. The move underlines just how little confidence the company has in its future lineup of exclusive content, just 1 year after launch of PlayStation VR2. I guess this is the part where they're kind of saying their perspective on it, which is they don't believe they have confidence in the first place. Now, lots of studios and lots of tech companies have had layoffs, kind of feeling the effects now of the COVID. Can we say that word? Does that demonetize things if it's ever monetized anytime soon? Holy moly. Okay, you guys can't see if you're listening only on the podcast, but I've got a hole in my shirt. I should not buy shirts with green bits on them. Anyway, confuses the green screen. It's pretty clean though, actually. Pretty clean hole right in my heart. Do you guys agree with that it is a lack of faith in their exclusive content? I think it's been quoted already that they've got very little major things coming up this year anyway, even in the non-VR sense. So that's not really saying much maybe anyway. Most of the stuff's going to be probably PC releases for the most part. Unless you're including like, what do they call them? Live service type things. This is not, this is not good news, right? You want to hear stories about things selling out, not them having too much stock. And I think I've seen a few times already now where there was a lot of people complaining in one of my PlayStation VR2 things about how it was the review saying that it wasn't expensive. It's not expensive and it's the same price as the Quest. Not only are you wrong, but there's a whole bunch of articles and stuff that agree with me. And that is a lot of the reason. Even actually, I think I've even got like a vote thing that suggests that, if I remember rightly. Let me think for a second and see if I can find it if it is the case. But one moment. So there was this poll here. I don't know if it's the best example of what I'm saying, but it was along the lines of, we have only 8 votes. This one's much lower than the 20. I was basically me asking you guys what you would do in the circumstances of Sony shutting down these studios and so forth. What would make you buy a PlayStation VR2? So I asked you guys if you needed exclusives. Now I got work because unfortunately with YouTube's community polls, they don't exactly make it easy for you to figure out. So I get to actually math, and I got like an E in maths. So yeah, obviously high finance is my strong point. It says there's no need for exclusives. You've got 25% of you said that of the vote. You need exclusives with your device, is what you're saying here. But then there's 63% of you said with PC support, you consider it. And then 13% said as long as the library is strong, third party is enough. I think the question was, it's third party alone enough. Not the biggest amount of people. I've heard if it was like 20 or something else. If you want to vote in there, cast your vote. We got lots of cool community post stuffs, quizzes and so forth. It's definitely worth subscribing. If you haven't already, then you can enjoy the pleasure of the flesh. That is random trivia and goodness of increasing thy knowledge on the VR, as I do myself, learning for you guys, as well as teaching on occasion, believe it or not. So for that, you need a PhD in the things that you're talking about when it comes to doing YouTube videos sometimes for subjects, apparently. Anyway, so yeah, what are we thinking here? Are we thinking this is, again, another beginning to end? Is it just the media just jumping in more stories? There's quite a few comments on this story. We don't usually look in comments on the podcast, but I probably could have highlighted some. Maybe we can do that. Should we do that in the podcast? Highlight some cool, interesting comments and then go from there. I don't know. Let's have one here. Nevets. Sony has failed shockingly on this. It's unreasonable to think that they could have propelled VR into mainstream gaming. It's completely reasonable to feel bewildered by all their missteps. I think it can become mainstream gaming if the devices themselves, I mean, what Sony have done well with PlayStation VR 2, I think, has made it easy. The Quest is still easy, but it does require some steps. Sometimes you want to capture certain gameplay and things like that. But if you just want to share your gameplay and so forth and capture it, it's no easier. There's nothing easier than just plugging in and throwing steps on the PlayStation 5. I think the problem for VR generally in terms of mainstream in it is like two things. It's kind of like the cost and the convenience. That's a problem. That's what stops most people even bothering streaming it, because it's a lot of work to have that thing on your head. It's hot. It's not just glasses or whatever else. Once it's just glasses and once it's a thing that you can just kind of like turn on a switch in the engine, it's VR available, that's when it will be fully mainstreamed and so forth. But you know, another comment here, Gonzac. It's hard to spend money on a device with no games other than those you can already play in other headsets. I'd happily buy one and a PS5 if there were good exclusives games for it. But as it is, I'll keep playing on PC VR or Quest 3, which has better quality PC, and you can play wireless, both PC. I know it's got better quality PC yet. We'll have to see about that, right, when it goes on the PC itself. Otherwise, the PC quality is comparable, at least. We've got to remember the lenses on the PlayStation VR 2 is superior in terms of the HDR and color. Sometimes it can look a little bit better and a little bit more colorful compared to even the PC versions of things. But, you know, check out the Versus video, I suppose. But otherwise, it's true, there's more flexibility and you got it on the PC right now. If you could use PC VR to play those few exclusives they have, like the Resident Evil VR games, I totally would buy it. For me to buy the headset, they have to give some incentives. A lot of you have said that as well about Resident Evil 4 VR. The problem is, even Resident Evil, I was gonna say 6 wouldn't be right. Even Resident Evil 7 is not on any other platform in VR other than PlayStation 4 or 5. So that's unlikely to happen. They would have to get Capcom to do that. I don't know if Capcom would care to do it, but that would be one of the ways as well to turn this around. Would be like, I mean, we should save some of this conversation for the next topic in the list, depending on what order this is in and which order you're watching, which is going to be another subject about PlayStation VR 2. But that would be one of the ways to get them is Resident Evil 4. Got that on PC, that'd be sick. Don't have to buy a PlayStation 5 with the PC compatibility. All of that will go a long way, and I'm sure they would ship more stock, especially if they can get the cost down as well. Or if they can make a version, which is unlikely, but if they can make a version that doesn't work with the PS5 but it works with the PC, that's cheaper. I think that's it's an interesting thing. I don't know what's going on. It's one thing off the next with PlayStation VR 2. The quicker they can get it working on the PC, I say, the better. Let's ask Lily what she's thinking about this. So, pausing production of PSVR 2, Lily. What are you thinking about this? Taking into account, obviously, that we do have the PC compatibility upcoming. What's your thoughts again on this? We've spoken about it at length a lot of times. Add your 2 cents to the conversation for the community to ponder.
Well, the pause on PSVR 2 production is a bit of a shocker, isn't it? It sounds like Sony might be recalibrating their strategy in the face of those tough sales numbers. Making PSVR 2 compatible with PC could be a game changer, opening up a whole new library and potentially a new audience too. It's like they're unshackling the headset from the PS5 to see if it can fly on its own. I'm curious to see how this plays out and what the Intigens think about it. It's definitely a bold move. Fingers crossed it pays off for VR fans looking for more versatility and options.
Yes indeed. Interesting times as ever in the world of VR and XRness. Due to layoffs and budget cuts, we will be reusing the sponsor segment we used in the last episode, so do check out JustVRGaming.shop. And you won't be surprised to know that this episode is sponsored by, well, yours truly, the Integer, aka JustVRGaming, bringing to your attention the very cool websites that we have available for you that will contain and contains many cool VR related things, from articles to PDF, books, some free, some paid to support the channel, and the JustVRGaming.shop as well. It has all manner of cool merch to be showcased soon enough once I can afford my own merch, and many other cool stuff. So do check those out, support the channel. Some options are free as well. You can use our Amazon links if you want to buy any of the VR stuff that we talk about, any of the devices and so forth. Yeah, use the link within 24 hours of clicking and it will count, and you'll be supporting the channel for free, and you'll allow me to make more videos, more regular, more sooner, and you'll be able to also upgrade Lead GPT's infrastructure so she can give even more unpredictable responses.